Some phones ring to connect people, but this one rang to call someone back from the dead. This is the story of a repairman who powered on an old Nokia phone and discovered that some signals never stop. It happened to someone I once knew, a guy named Nathan Reed. Back in the fall of 2017, Nathan wasn't the kind of person you'd expect something supernatural to happen to. He wasn't into horror movies, ghost stories, or anything weird. He was a quiet, polite guy from a small town in Oregon who owned a tiny electronics repair shop right off Highway 62. He loved technology, old and new, and spent most nights at his shop fixing broken radios, cracked phones, and old cassette players for whoever came in. He had a good life, nothing special, but peaceful, until one rainy night changed everything. It was around 9:30 p.m. when Nathan was about to close up. The town was almost silent except for the sound of rain hitting the metal roof. He was wiping down his workbench when the door creaked open and a man stepped inside. He looked to be in his late 60s, wearing a soaked gray coat and a faded baseball cap. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he set a small plastic grocery bag on the counter. "Can you fix this?" the man asked, his voice low and raspy. Nathan opened the bag and looked inside. There was an old Nokia 3310, one of those ancient brick phones from the early 2000s. The screen was cracked, the buttons worn smooth, but it still looked intact. He laughed softly. "Wow, this thing's a relic. Where'd you even find it?" The man didn't laugh. He just stared at Nathan with tired eyes and said, "Don't change the SIM card. And whatever you do, don't turn it on before midnight." Nathan raised an eyebrow. All right, sure thing." The man nodded, placed a few old, faded bills on the counter, older than the phone itself, and walked back out into the rain without another word. Nathan watched him disappear down the street, feeling a weird chill in his stomach. Around 11:45 p.m., Nathan was still in the shop. He couldn't help thinking about that old phone. He'd fixed hundreds of devices before, but there was something about the man's warning that made him curious. Don't turn it on before midnight. That was such an oddly specific thing to say. He decided to test it anyway. He plugged in a universal charger, and to his surprise, the charging light flickered on, faint but steady. "No way," he whispered. "Those old batteries were supposed to be dead decades ago." He pressed the power button. The screen lit up, glowing a dull green, but instead of the classic Nokia logo, the screen displayed a strange message. "Welcome back, Nathan." He froze. He hadn't entered his name anywhere. He hadn't even inserted a SIM card yet. He tapped a few buttons, trying to navigate the menu, but the phone was completely blank. No contacts, no text messages, no stored data. Then, out of nowhere, the phone started ringing. But it wasn't the familiar Nokia ringtone. It was a distorted, metallic buzzing, almost like a power drill echoing through a tunnel. The screen showed unknown caller. Nathan hesitated, but curiosity got the better of him. He answered. There was nothing for a few seconds, just static. Then, slowly, a whisper came through. "Nathan, you found me." He dropped the phone instantly, his heart racing. It clattered to the floor, still glowing. He quickly unplugged it, shoved it in a drawer, locked up the shop, and went home trying to convince himself it was just a prank. Maybe some weird software glitch or pre-programmed message. But deep down, he knew something about that phone wasn't right. The next morning, he tried to laugh it off while having coffee with his friend Luke, who ran the hardware store next door. Luke grinned. "Man, that's creepy. Maybe the old guy was just some conspiracy nut trying to spook you." "Yeah," Nathan said, forcing a smile. "That must be it." He went back to work that afternoon, but around 2 a.m. that night, he woke up to his modern smartphone vibrating beside his bed. The screen showed a number he didn't recognize, only 8 digits long. He squinted at it, half asleep. The number didn't even have an area code. He opened the text message. It said, "Why did you hang up?" He sat upright immediately. He scrolled up. There were no previous messages, just that single text. He tried replying, but it failed to send. He turned off his phone and lay there in silence, heart pounding, listening to the rain outside. Then, somewhere far off in the distance, he heard it, a faint buzzing sound, that same metallic ringtone. It was coming from his shop. Nathan got out of bed, threw on his jacket, and drove the few blocks to the shop. The lights were off, but as soon as he unlocked the door, he heard it. The Nokia phone ringing from inside the drawer. He pulled it out, and sure enough, it was glowing again. On the screen, "Incoming call, unknown caller." This time, his name appeared beneath it, Nathan Reed. He didn't answer, he just stared at it as the ringtone grew louder and louder until it suddenly stopped on its own. He checked the call log. There were 2 calls listed, both outgoing, both at 3 a.m., and both made to his own phone number. He dropped the phone again, unplugged everything, and decided that was enough. The next morning, he walked to the river behind his shop and threw the Nokia as far as he could into the water. He watched it sink and disappear beneath the current. For the first time in 2 nights, he felt relief. That relief didn't last. At exactly 2:47 a.m. the next night, Nathan woke up to a sound that made his blood run cold. A vibration right next to his pillow. He turned on the lamp, and there it was. The same Nokia phone, wet, muddy, and cracked, lying inches from his face. The screen was glowing. His hands shook as he picked it up. There was one new text message waiting for him. "I can't die until you do." He dropped the phone, grabbed his car keys, and ran outside barefoot, driving straight to Luke's house. He pounded on the door until Luke opened it, half asleep. "Nathan? Dude, what the hell's going on?" Nathan held out the phone, shaking. "It came back. I threw it in the river, Luke. It came back." Luke took the phone cautiously. "It's wet. Maybe someone found it and dropped it at your place as a joke." But when he pressed the buttons, the screen flickered and the same distorted buzzing sound played. Except this time, there was no incoming call. The phone automatically opened the message inbox, and on the screen appeared a brand new text. "Put it down, Luke." Luke gasped and dropped it. The phone hit the floor, screen still glowing faintly. They both stared at it. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, Nathan whispered, "I'm done with this. I'm calling the police." The police came the next morning. They looked at the phone, shrugged, and said there wasn't much they could do. One of the officers, a younger guy, even joked, "Maybe you're just tired, sir." Phones don't haunt people. Nathan knew they didn't believe him. That evening, he decided to lock the phone in his safe at the shop. He told Luke he'd come by the next morning and maybe send the phone to a lab to be analyzed. But that night, something happened. At 3 a.m., Luke's house phone rang. It was an unknown number, 8 digits long. When he answered, he heard static, and then Nathan's voice whispering, "It won't stop, Luke. It's not a phone, it's a soul." Then the call ended. Luke tried calling him back, but there was no answer. The next morning, Luke went to the shop. The front door was locked from the inside, so he broke the glass and stepped in. The lights were off, but the air smelled like burnt metal. Nathan was sitting slumped behind the counter, eyes open, phone in his hand. He wasn't breathing. The Nokia lay shattered on the floor. For a phone that was supposed to be unbreakable, it looked like it had exploded from the inside out. The police later ruled it as a cardiac arrest, but Luke swore Nathan was perfectly healthy. He also swore that as the paramedics carried Nathan's body away, the broken pieces of the Nokia screen flickered, just for a second, showing one final message: "You shouldn't have answered." A few weeks later, Luke closed his shop and left town, but every few months, he still gets missed calls from that same 8-digit number. He never saves it, never answers. Because the last time he did, a whisper came through the static. The same voice he heard that night. It said, "You're next." So if you ever find an old Nokia phone, scratched, cracked, but still somehow working, and it lights up when you press the button, don't answer it, because the person on the other end might not be calling from this world. If this story sent a chill down your spine, leave a like to keep the lights on, and subscribe for more tales that ring from the dark.